After chasing Alexander Isak and flirting with Benjamin Sesko, Arsenal appeared to have selected Viktor Gyökeres to be their centre-forward for the 25-26 season. But does that move actually make sense? Hello, welcome back, I'm Statman Dave, and today we're going to be answering that question, whilst looking at the big Swede's strengths, but also his weaknesses. Does he fit into Arteta's plans, and can Arsenal win the Premier League with a proper centre-forward? If you are new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, but anyway, let's get this party started. People know that Viktor Gyökeres is a goal-scoring machine with more goals than any player in Europe's top 7 leagues since joining Sporting, and that's whether you include penalties or not. But what is he actually like as a player? Viktor Gyökeres is a power forward. He's got the physicality of a target man and can hold off most defenders. He's got the passing and technical ability to link with teammates. He's got the speed and movement of an advanced forward and frequently makes runs into the channels. And he can be a threat in aerial duels, but it's definitely an area he can improve. Whilst Gyökeres does drop off the line to link the play in possession, he's far more dangerous when he's able to threaten the backline with runs in behind. Not only does he have the speed to run away from defenders, but he can finish very well off both feet. What's more is that Gyökeres frequently provides an outball with runs into the channels. Even if he's pushed into the wide areas, Gyökeres is a good dribbler who can create for teammates. Last season, Gyökeres had more goal-creating actions following a dribble than any other player in the Liga Portugal. So now we understand Viktor Gyökeres more as a player, let's dive into the tactics. So for Sporting Club de Portugal, Gyökeres was very much an outball, playing as a solo 9 in a 3-4-2-1 structure. What this meant is that Sporting could go direct, that being in behind the defence for Gyökeres to run onto the ball, or alternatively finding his feet or his chest or his head to link with teammates. Why this is important for Arsenal is they lack this option, a player that can truly stretch the opposition when Arsenal especially are building out from the back. Similar to Arsenal, Sporting Club de Portugal like to use small and quick passes out of the back to draw the opponent's press on before firing a ball into one of the forwards and then playing in these kind of hybrid counter-attacking situations. For Arsenal, this is important because teams love sitting deep against Arteta's side. They love having 5 at the back, 4 in midfield, 1 up front, and simply just shimmying from left to right in the defensive third. And to unlock this story, they need some brilliance from an Ødegaard, from a Saka or a Martinelli. So one of the big things that Gyökeres will allow Arsenal to do is go direct on the first phase. For Sporting Club de Portugal, kind of a trademark of Viktor Gyökeres is him running into the left channel. It's an area that he absolutely loves, with of course Sporting's build-up kind of coming out of the back and again drawing players on. What you tend to see is the 2 number 10s dropping deep to try and overload the opponent's shape to potentially be that direct pass to then allow them to turn, dribble and carry through. But one of the other areas that Sporting were really good at, again, is hitting those channel areas. And Viktor Gyökeres, for example, if the ball wasn't played into one of the number 10s, was that option. He absolutely loves pulling into that area to get on long balls and then isolate defenders 1v1. And if we look at his progressive passes received stat, he's up there with some of the best in Europe, with Gyökeres receiving around 10 per game. And if we look at the list of players that receive progressive passes, it's basically all wingers. So Gyökeres being this player that moves into the wide areas in these situations allows you to get into the final third. And what it will mean for Arsenal as teams high press them, they've got a ball to drop it into the channels. Committing Gyökeres versus a defender 1v1 can cause serious problems. Either that's Gyökeres being the real direct option with the ball into his feet and then simply driving and carrying at the opposition before getting shots away, or alternatively waiting for his teammates to arrive and creating chances for them. And that's a big part of his game. Which leads us nicely on to our first 2 examples. Gyökeres creating in wide areas for teammates. First up, against Benfica. Yes, Viktor Gyökeres has impact in bigger games. Something I had to say because apparently he didn't score goals against Manchester City in the Champions League last season. We just forgot about that bit. But anyway, Sporting Club de Portugal with a throw-in. Gyökeres making that move into the left channel as he does. What I like about this is not only does he use his power to hold off the centre-back, but as soon as he's turned, he's cutting back across the defender, basically cutting him out of the game. Then good decision-making in the final third to play a ball with the outside of his right foot to the back post for Sporting to grab a massive goal in the Lisbon derby. Gyökeres, very unselfish in these areas. Yes, at times he will shoot from these wide areas, but if the pass is on, like this goal, he will find his teammate. But moving to another situation, can he do it in England? Of course, Viktor Gyökeres was probably one of the best players in the Championship a few seasons ago before joining Sporting Club de Portugal, and is a prime example of him doing it in England against a physical team in Huddersfield Town. Of course, Viktor Gyökeres is on the end of a long punt out of defence. This happened time and time again for Coventry. They'd defend deep, they'd look to a long ball for Gyökeres, and he would just make things happen. And that is a good quality. You know, players that play in the Championship can do well in the Championship, convert very well to the Premier League. But as Viktor Gyökeres brings the ball down, this first touch is sublime. He takes it on the outside, which allows him to instantly get facing up the defender. He then feints to come inside before going back on the outside and driving into the final third. From this position, he could take a shot with his left foot, very capable of that, but he picks his head up, his teammate on the back post, and there's a simple tap in. Viktor Gyökeres creating for his teammates, being a danger in the channel versus defenders. This is massive for Arsenal. A direct out ball is something they need. Imagine this being a situation of Arsenal playing out from the back, drawing the team on, and then playing that channel ball. Opens up a massive area for Arsenal to score goals, which is an area that Arteta needs to improve. Arsenal have scored fewer and fewer goals from open play over the last 3 seasons. That is a concern, but having someone like Gyökeres that not only can do something himself, but is this great out ball will allow Arsenal to play more direct. But before we move on, I know what you're going to be saying. That's against Benfica in the Portuguese League, and that's against Coventry City in the Championship. Well, here's an example of Viktor Gyökeres doing it against one of the best defenders in the world of football. And similar to the example against Huddersfield Town, Gyökeres' team is defending, but he is very much positioning himself already as an out ball. As Hulman wins a tackle, Harder plays forward. Of course, Viktor Gyökeres is in his trademark position, the left channel. This is an area where Arsenal need to adapt quickly to his game and just keep threading those balls into those areas like we saw Harder do here. Because not only has Gyökeres got the strength and kind of that agility to pin and then spin, as he does on William Saliba, probably the best defender in the Premier League right now, he's got the acceleration and the pace when carrying the football to beat players 1v1. And we see him do that with Kivior here, driving down the left-hand side on his kind of weaker left part of his body, which allows him to not only motor into the penalty area, but crack a shot with a left foot that ricochets off the bar. That is brilliant centre-forward play against Arsenal's defence. This is a big reason why he will be a success in the Premier League. He's done it in the Portuguese League, he's done it in the Championship, he's done it in the Champions League against English opposition. Manchester City destroyed, Arsenal did very well. He's a player that I think will adapt well to life in England. And an even bigger benefit for Arsenal, to stop this, you've got to cut the space in behind your defence, which means that you just simply can't press Arsenal out of the back. You can't get aggressive up the pitch and squeeze them in a man-orientated system. Because if that does happen, players like David Raya, who are unbelievable over long distance, will have a field day finding Viktor Gyökeres in behind your defence. So consequently what that means is teams will have to sit deeper against Arsenal, meaning that Arsenal can build out the back without getting pressed high up the pitch. And for me, this is a big thing that will help them improve the Gunners in terms of kind of allowing them a little bit more time and space on the ball, knowing that teams are probably going to have to sit against them in a bit more of a mid-block, allowing that kind of first little bit of build-up play to be simpler. That's important for Arsenal because not only do they have to get into their possession-based shape, with Lewis Skelly moving into a central position, but it allows them to be a little bit higher up the pitch in possession of the football, but also allow players like Martin Ødegaard more time and space on the ball to play passes, once again, in behind the defence when facing these mid-blocks. But I think more importantly, it stops Arsenal making mistakes. Last season, Arsenal made 33 errors leading to shots. That's the most they've managed in a single season under Arteta. Teams did quite well squeezing them high at the pitch and catching them in their build-up. You know, at times David Raya was pressed in situations which meant him lose the ball in areas where teams could break quickly. Given that you're going to be forcing teams naturally back with Gyökeres' movement in behind defences, Arsenal should make less errors building out from the back. And just because you've stopped Gyökeres running into space, that doesn't mean he's not a threat anymore. He's a very good finisher who can work shooting angles off both feet. He does this more with his strength and his speed, but he's also agile enough to quickly change directions and shift the ball. We've got a great example from this season's Champions League against Lille of Gyökeres getting shots away in the penalty area. It's a bit scrappy at the start, it's a little bit of chaos. Of course, there's a long ball from Sporting out of the back. It bounces in the penalty area twice, and Lille try and get it cleared. But the ball breaks to Sporting with Viktor Gyökeres heading the ball to Gyökeres. From this position with Gyökeres receiving, there is 4 players around him. Not only does he shield the ball really well, but he shifts it quickly onto his stronger right foot and fires it into the back of the net. That is a fantastic goal. And if you think that Gyökeres is only a threat in the channel, he's only a threat with pace, I don't think you know the big Swede yet. So we've had a look at a lot of Gyökeres' strengths, but where is his weaknesses? Where could he improve under Arteta? Again, Arteta's worked with some really good attacking players and improved them in his tenure so far as a manager and a coach for Manchester City. But one of the areas where Gyökeres could definitely improve, that is scoring goals with his head from crosses. In terms of Gyökeres as a player, he scored 2 goals from 41 headed shots in the Portuguese league. That's a conversion rate of around 4.9%. And when you consider that Arsenal do create a lot of chances for inverted crosses from both of their wingers, there's definitely room for improvement. And in terms of Kai Havertz, that's basically been Arsenal's number 9 for the last season and a bit. He scored around 30% of his goals with his head. So it's a little bit of a concern considering that Gyökeres isn't the best in the air right now. So taking a look at a few examples of Gyökeres using his head, there is a good raw base, but refinement is very much needed. Take this header against Porto, it's really good. I like Gyökeres in this situation between the far side centre-back and full-back. He finds himself a nice bit of space, gets up very well, the power is good, the header's good, the accuracy is good. It's a good header. But when you consider these two against RB Leipzig, there's a little bit of a concern here that needs some work. Take this inverted cross, slinged into the back post, the power and direction's not quite there. Or this effort later on, again this is more of a similar situation that Arsenal could work from a set piece, short corner, you know, a little 1-2 between 2 players, ball goes into the box, and the direction is quite poor from Viktor Gyökeres. But that being said, as we mentioned before, Arteta is a manager that improves players. And if this is one area that needs improving, you've already got some pretty good raw materials. Gyökeres is good as a hold-up player. He's good when you punt long balls up to his chest or to his head. So I do believe a little work in terms of on the training ground with his head could see a lot of goals from Viktor Gyökeres at Arsenal. And finally, a criticism of Viktor Gyökeres is that he is a flat track bully. For me, for Arsenal, that isn't really a problem. Arsenal need to be battering the weaker teams in the Premier League. When you consider how close Arsenal have been to a league title and how it could have come down to goal difference, having a centre forward that destroys these weaker teams is a good thing. That not only allows Arsenal to kill games in 60 minutes, allowing them to rest their big starters, but it also means that Arsenal, if it goes down to level points at the end of the season, goals are important. That being said, Viktor Gyökeres has got a good record against the best teams in Portugal, directly involved in 7 goals in 8 games against Benfica, but also directly involved in 9 goals in 7 games against Porto. He's also got 6 in 6 in the Champions League. I think he's got the quality to score goals against the bigger sides. That being said, Viktor Gyökeres was useless against the big 6 in the Premier League. Arsenal have not really had a problem in recent years playing those sides. In the last 20 matches against the big 6, Arsenal have been unbeaten in 20 games. And that being said, as we mentioned previously, Gyökeres is really good when teams press you high. What do all the best teams do? They press high, so this outball is so important in these games. I think having a flat track bully in your side that can also make things happen against the bigger teams is absolutely fine. And he's quite a complete goal scorer in that. Left foot, right foot, finishes and from cutbacks, from balls in behind defences. There's a lot of quality that I like about Viktor Gyökeres. So let's answer the question we posed at the start of the video. Does Viktor Gyökeres to Arsenal make sense? For me, it's an absolute yes. Arsenal are signing a striker for around 75 million. That's broken down to an upfront fee and then some additional add-ons later on if Arsenal win trophies or so forth. This is a £100 million player. This is one of the best goal scorers in Europe. This is one of the best creative centre forwards on the planet right now. If Arteta could adjust his tactics, potentially even go into a 4-4-2 with Kai Havertz and Gyökeres up front, battering the smaller teams is going to be a lot more of a simple task. On top of that, we can't ignore the fact the Portuguese league is around the 7th best league in Europe right now by coefficient. That being said, if you half his goals plus assists, he'd still have 40 goals plus assists this season in all competitions. That is ridiculous. Gyökeres is ready for a move to the Premier League, and Arsenal makes a lot of sense. But anyway, guys, get into the comments below. What do you think? Do you think Viktor Gyökeres will be a good signing? And anyway, we'll see you next time. Subscribe if you do. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel.